Okay, this is part 2 of this chapter, Models of Relational Dynamics. And it's fairly, the first part is fairly simple, so I would like to go through that quickly. The second part is a little more complicated and will need to take some time. So this first part is based primarily on the work of Mark Knapp, who saw relationships coming together, integrating through bonding, and then relationships coming apart, differentiating through terminating. And there were other researchers who said that's too simplistic. There's a relational maintenance stage that we need to look at. So let's go through. Initiating, it's very short. It's you say hello to someone. That's it. Okay, you're somehow demonstrating that you're a person worth talking to. So you go to Dunkin' Donuts and you get a coffee and you say to the person, good morning or hi, and that's initiating, but you don't necessarily decide that you're going to continue that relationship. So that is the opening stage of all relationships. Problem is, this is very difficult for people who are shy. They can't even get into this whole building a relationship if they can't get it started. Okay, the next stage is where you're really looking for what you have in common with people, and there's a lot of small talk. What are you interested in? Uh, you know, so what's your major? Boy, do you come to this? Do you come here often? Kind of a thing. This is a really safe way to ease into a relationship because it allows you to audition to see if the person has similar interests as you. Right. The third stage is still we're coming together. It's intensifying, where you've decided that this is someone you want to actually have a relationship with, and the personal relationship develops. And this is kind of almost a honeymoon stage that we see in a lot of Hollywood movies. It's very exciting, but it doesn't last forever. Okay. The integrating stage is when you and the other person in the relationship, a work relationship, a friendship, a romantic relationship, start to identify as a social unit. So you and your friends start doing things together. You and your romantic partner decide that you're going to um, we're going to spend Thanksgiving with my family and Christmas with your family. So that's how you start to develop certain routines and rituals. Oh, it's Friday night. On Fridays, we always go bowling, and on Wednesdays, we go to the tabletop shop and play Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. Still in this coming together or possibly relational maintenance stage, it's bonding. This is a symbolic public gesture to show the world that you're in a relationship. You become engaged, you become married, you move in together. You and your friend are working, you're developing a game together, or two people decide to write a book. Um, you're in you're at a residential college and you join a fraternity or a sorority or a certain club. These are all examples of bonding. That's why I said the relationships don't have to be romantic to achieve bonding. This is a very important turning point because it's public. Everything else, maybe except for integrating, has been relatively private, but at this point it's very public. You want the world to know. Knapp would say at this point, it's all downhill. Other researchers have said, but you know what? Maybe not. Let's see what else can happen in the relationship. So when you in the integrating stage, you maybe don't do some things that you really like because you're focusing less on an I and more on a we. And in differentiating, you're going the opposite way. You're starting to say, okay, we don't have to do things together all the time. I will do stuff. So instead of our whatever, it's going to be mine and yours. This is normal. It does not mean this is the beginning of the end. Everyone in a relationship does this when you realize that you can't spend every waking hour doing everything together, whether it's with a friend, a romantic partner, or at work. Okay, so this is part of relational maintenance. Sometimes what happens is circumscribing, where you you and the other person in the relationship really you draw a circle around this is yours, this is mine. So we have, you know what, I'm going to open my bank account and this is money just for me. or I'm going to go out with my friends. You can go out with your friends. Again, this is relatively normal. But if you look at a relationship and there are more areas that you're separate than that you're together, that can be a problem, because probably what happens is it moves to the next stage, which is now firmly part of coming apart, and that's stagnating, where you're doing the same stuff that you always did. There's nothing new, there's nothing excited. In a sense, you're just going through the motions. Another stage in the relationship coming apart is avoiding, where you're really creating distance between you and the other person. And you can, this distancing can be, you're expressing detachment, where you're not you're not around very much, or when you're around, you're zoning out, you're not listening to them. Or you could ignore the other person. That's the avoiding involvement. You could show antagonism whenever the person says, you do that eyeball roll, or the okay, and you could mentally disassociate from the person, where in your mind this person has become the evil one. They are lesser, they're not important. And what happens is, when you're in this, it becomes a vicious cycle, because the less time you spend with the person, the less time you want to spend with that person. And so if you don't do anything about this, it will lead to terminating. Okay, so you say, I quit. You say, I want a divorce. You maybe just stop answering texts. You somehow let the other person know that the relationship is over. Now, it doesn't have to be like this. At any stage in the coming apart, the people involved in the relationship can decide that this is not what they want, and they go to therapy, get couples counseling, and that would be some more intensifying and integrating. Or you can sit down with a friend and talk things out. So just because it's set up this way, as a up and then down staircase, doesn't mean it has to be this way. Okay, I need to do a quick check of the time. So how do I do that? Okay, and we got 7 minutes. Okay, I will move on. I'm going to stop at this point so I can spend enough time on the next section.